Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Allen, and welcome back to the What a Thought podcast as I readjust in my chair because my body does not want to be in this chair right now. If you're unaware, 2 days ago, as of the release of this podcast, 1 day ago, as of day of recording, barely a day ago, as day of recording, I did a 24-hour stream, which was some maniacal madness nonsense for me to undertake. And the fact that I am awake right now and recording this podcast currently just says so much about my drive and my will and the fact that I just really need to get the podcast out. But it was a good time. I had some fun playing through the games that I got through. I made it all the way through Season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead, which, that game is such a vibe, but it's such an emotional vibe. When I got to the end of episode 5, I felt the need to cry, but I could not cry. For those who haven't played that game, and I guess, I don't know, sorry, spoilers for a decade-old game at this point. The playable character of that game, Lee, he does inevitably get bitten by one of the walkers by the end of the series, and spends his final moments saving a little girl named Clementine, who he has been caring for the entire time. It's very emotional. It's very emotionally charged, but I like it. It's a time. It's a hurtful time, but it's a time. Yeah, I got to play through that whole thing. It took like 10 hours, which felt a little insane. I don't know. I don't know. I don't often sit and play games beginning to end because that's insane. Because some games are really long. Now, granted, there are other games out there that are like significantly shorter. It just is the nature of the beast. But that one just felt so long. But in a good way. I had fun. I enjoyed being there with all the characters I was there with. You do your thing, you know? What else did I do? There's no thoughts in my head. There really aren't. I know it's the What a Thought podcast, but I'm empty. Dude, this tank is running thin. The heck is that? What are you? I don't know what that is. That might just be dirt. I might just be losing my mind. I started cleaning today, because that's what I'm supposed to do. This is Sunday. I started cleaning, and then I stopped. And I was like, I need to go do things. So now I'm here recording the podcast. Yeah, I played that. I played Dead Space 2. Oh. What an actual nightmare sometimes it is to get through a Dead Space game. The reason I played Dead Space 2, even though the franchise I wish would just die in history, is because the very first game I ever played on the Twitch, because I started it in October in honor of the fact that I also started the YouTube channel in October the year before, was because was that I played Dead Space, like the original Dead Space. And so I was like, all right, I'm celebrating a year. I'm going to do this madness. I'll play Dead Space 2, you know? There's no other world where I touch the Dead Space sequel, right? So I was like, I'll play Dead Space 2. It'll be a good time. Oh, what a terrible decision I made. The worst, absolute worst decision I could have made. It was fine. Okay, it was Dead Space. If you don't know Dead Space, Necromorphs, Plasma Cutter, you've probably at some point in your life seen one of the costumes, like one of the Isaac Clarke engineering suits, show up at a con. If you go to cons, I know that was something I mentioned specifically when I was doing the stream. Is that's the only thing I'm excited about for the remake. Is that I hope it brings back a resurgence of the Isaac Clarke engineering suit cosplays. Because those were the coolest things. trying to see if I can Google. Yeah. There were people out there that, like, they made the Isaac Clarke engineering suit. It was dope. I remember once upon a time seeing, like, some that fully, like, had the open, like, it opened up, like, the helmet opened, and it was dope. It was, like, nonsense, but it was cool nonsense, if that's a thing. Let me see if I put in Dead Space suit cosplay, because when you put in engineering suit, obviously you just get yellow vest, because the 3 brain cells in my head didn't click, like, oh, right, engineering is a real thing. It's not like I said, give me the Spartan armor from Halo. I said that, like, the sentence left my mouth, and then I realized Spartan armor is also its own real life thing. Everything rolls back to the real life. Can't even say Mario's overalls. Real people have overalls too. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, like, I'm looking at these. These are cool. These are all so cool. This guy's got the plasma cutter. I can only imagine the amount of time it took to make this, but I also understand that the majority of Isaac Clarke's suit is, like, external things over, like Stormtrooper armor, you know, for those who watch Star Wars, which I think is like 50% of 100% of 100%. It's everyone. Everyone knows Star Wars. But, like, Stormtrooper armor is like plastic. It's not plastic bits. It's supposed to be like armor, but it's like armor bits over, like, a black sweater and, like, black pants, you know? It's not like it's a suit of armor they have to put on, which is probably why they all die so easily. And it's sort of the same thing with Isaac's suit. It's like, here's the suit. Like, if you'd put him in, like, a diver's suit, and then, like, the under part, and then put the engineering suit over it. Am I making sense? Does my brain sound like it's firing on all pistons? Because it doesn't feel like it's firing on all pistons. Or if the pistons are even firing. So, like, I can understand the under part might be easier, but, like, the amount of effort that goes into doing, like, the armor part. Like, this one I'm looking at, this person did his level 3 suit from the original Dead Space. And they even have the, like, the health bar part in the spine, and the spot where it would display to you that you've got the ability to freeze stuff, which is a helpful ability when things with pokey arms are running at you. And, like, it's cool. I've seen others where people have it, like, it genuinely lights up and whatnot. Like, it's just, those were the coolest cosplays I've ever seen for a video game that haunts my nightmares. It haunts my nightmares so much. I've known about this game for, like, a decade and a half, which is too long for someone of my age currently. Like, if I was, like, 50 and I said a decade and a half, that wouldn't be too bad. But seeing as my age, that's a little bad. But, you know, it's a good time. It's a good time. People like it. They do their thing. What did I... Hold on. I just blanked out super hard. Oh, Lord. My brain is... There are no thoughts. There are no thoughts today. It's what an emptiness. Oh, but yeah, okay. That was that weird tangent from out of Dead Space 2. It was alright. There was a weird unkillable creature that showed up in the last chapter of the game, and I have many questions about that. I also died 10 times over in the final bit, which kind of irked me. And that was because, and this is an issue I have with a couple of other games too, but unskippable, like, death cutscenes get annoying after a while. Obviously, I didn't stick around dying for too long with Isaac Clarke, but just the audacity of having to see multiple times either him get pulled apart by the, like, infinite darkness children, or skewer himself in the face, it just kind of gets tedious. Like, you see it and you see it the first time and you're like, oh my god, And then you see it the second time, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can do better. And then like the third and fourth time, but by then you're already like, all right, cool, move on, get me to the next step, okay? It's like, go ahead and reset for me, please, because you can't skip it. There is no skipping it, and I think that irks me a lot in a lot of games. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't make me hit all the way to the 24 hours. I had to circle into the third game that I thought I would get to finish that night, but I didn't expect Dead Space to take as long as it did, because I was bad at that game. That took me, I'd say, about 12 hours. That game is supposed to take like 9 if you're like just going for the story, which is basically what I was doing mostly, I think. But sometimes I can't discern in my gamer brain if I'm going for the story or not. But then I closed out with Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope. I got about an hour and a half into that. I've learned I'm really bad about it's like a don't breathe section. You're supposed to hit a button. No, it's like a heartbeat section. You're supposed to hit a button in time with it. And I'm really, really bad at it for some reason. I don't know why. And I feel like it's going to come back and bite me in the butt. But I also think it's because you're supposed to be able to hear the heartbeats. And I'm hearing them in delayed fashion because of how I was streaming that game, which is not fun. But yeah, you know. What else did I do? But that was the 24-hour stream. It was real cool. I finally hit 50 followers on Twitch. And once Twitch decides to actually recognize that I've hit 50 followers, I'll be able to apply for affiliate, and that'll be cool. Allow me to do certain like monetization things, which would be nice. You know, Twitch is, I have a good time there. I like playing games. Obviously, I'm still student, doing student things, right? I'm still learning, and then I'm also trying to do all that stuff. So it is what it is. The 24-hour stream really helped me out, helped me get a little further ahead on the madness. It was a good time. I liked it. I'm surprised I managed to like not feel like my brain didn't start to crash until I hit like the 23rd hour at about 30 minutes. You know, with like 30 minutes left is when I started to actually feel my brain start to shut down on me, and I was like, "Oh, okay. We're tired now. This is the tiredness." And now that's seeping back into me right now as this day is coming to a close. And it's really getting me good. Yeah. Watched a couple of movies, some bangers, some not bangers. When was the last video I put out? Because it was the previous month. I don't feel like doing the math. Friday was what, the 30th? Oh god. I know how to count backwards. Friday, Saturday, nope, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday the 26th, Monday the 19th. That was the last podcast, right? Yeah. That was the last Whatta Thought podcast, is what I was trying to do with that math. Oh, God, it's empty in here. I already forgot what I just said. 19th. What did I watch between then and now? I saw This Is the End again, like properly beginning to end. That movie's alright. Celebrities playing fictional versions of themselves in the apocalypse, you know, the rapture. It's a whole thing. It was fun. It was alright. The reason I'm looking at what I watched is because I have so few brain cells to properly discuss some of the things I wrote down. So you'll get it in 2 weeks. I saw Bodies, which is a new horror movie that came out. Horror, thriller, black comedy, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was excellent. I really enjoyed that movie. I really enjoyed all the performances. I didn't even realize that the main actress, or I'm saying the main actress, personally I consider B to be the main actress, of main character, whatever. And that would be Maria Bakalova. She plays B. She was the breakout star of Borat 2. which is such a wild thing to consider. But Amanda Steinberg plays Sophie, who is Bee's girlfriend, and she was Rue in the Hunger Games, which is so wild to my brain to think about. Because I'm like, yeah, no, I know Rue. And then I'm looking at this adult woman and I'm like, maybe I didn't know Rue. I'm like, yeah, that's the same person, but is it? And it is. And it's just so goofy. But yeah, that was a good film. That was a good time. I watched it while trying to fix my laptop, which took too long. It took 8 straight hours from like midnight to 8 a.m. And then I went to bed and I woke back up like 2-3 hours later and kept working on it. That was insane. I also got to see The Munsters, the Rob Zombie movie. That was so enjoyable. It was like a prequel setup that led into the show. And so that was a fun time. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that movie a lot. There were moments where I thought to myself, well, they could have done better about this or that, and then it dawned on me like, no, it wasn't supposed to be like some highfalutin, glamorous like Hollywood movie version of the Munsters. It was literally supposed to be like a movie of how Herman met his wife that I can't remember the name of. I think it's Lucy. I might be correct. I might be wrong. Give me 10 seconds. Lily. I was gonna get there. But yeah. Like, it was like how those two met, how they end up where they end up in the show, because I forget they're like the only monsters in a town of regular humans. So it's a whole thing. And it's great, you know? I liked it a lot. Yeah. Saw that. I saw Edward Scissorhands from beginning to end properly. That's a interesting one. Tim Burton was doing some interesting, odd things in that movie. I didn't know Edward kind of gets inappropriately interacted with by another character. That's something. It's also got the guy that plays Brian, aka the Brain, in I just blanked out so hard. What is that movie? The Breakfast Club. This is the least enjoyable podcast anyone's ever going to listen to. I don't know what's happening in my head. But yeah, it's got him in there. He's doing his thing. He's playing a jock. And it's kind of goofy because I didn't realize how tall he was. Or maybe just because he's next to Winona Ryder and she's a short woman. But he's doing that part pretty solid. I won't lie. It's kind of goofy to think about like the two halves of the same coin that is Anthony Michael Hall. Because I did just go get his name real quick because I felt bad about not being able to remember it. It also has Diane Wiest. I don't know. It's Wiest. There's so many different forms of ways in which I could say that. And she's in The Lost Boys as like, I think her name is Lucy in that movie. And that was so interesting to me. I was like, oh, look at her being another mom character, you know, where just nonsense happens around her. Doesn't date a vampire in this one though. She's married to Alan Arkin in this one. And then the last movie I recently watched was Pet Sematary, the original one, which contains the best Judd, played by Fred Gwynne, who was Herman Munster in The Munsters, like the original show, which I thought was a nice cyclical moment of being like, hey, I just watched the prequel movie made in 2022 for The Munsters, and here is OG Herman Munster. I was like, isn't that something? But yeah, OG Pet Sematary is both fun and dumb all at the same time, and then very scary when you watch a small, like, I don't know, 3-year-old run around with a scalpel in his hand. Even though I'm sure it was dull. I would like to hope it was dull. But he's running around with it and your whole body just kind of tenses up. Because you're like, ooh, no. Where is it? Why does this all say sound? Yeah, I didn't know Stephen King wrote the script for Pet Sematary. I know he wrote the book, but I didn't realize he wrote his own adaptation, because that's so funny to me. But that was a fun time. I don't think I'll ever get to that remake because that just doesn't look as fun. Like this one's a nice little just bout of not nostalgia, because I wasn't born in the 80s, but like it's got that feel to it that you just can't recapture, like that feel of the time, and I love it. My whole brain just my whole brain just shut down for a second. There were no thoughts. My mouth was agape. What's in my notes? I got through that. Bicycle etiquette. You guys know what I'm talking about? Do you know bicycle etiquette? You're supposed to be like, oh, okay, if you're in a bicycle and there's someone walking, or even another cyclist, and you intend to overtake and pass them, you'd be like, on your right, or on your left. There's usually supposed to be like hand signals, but no one does that. You're supposed to at least just out loud acknowledge your presence, because I don't know if you've ever ridden a bike, but unless someone's got playing cards in it to do the like slappy noise that makes it sound like a motorcycle or whatnot, like whatever that nonsense was, unless someone's got that going on, bicycles are pretty silent, which is why you're supposed to have the bicycle etiquette. And oh my god, the amount of people around not just this college campus, but this whole little city are the worst people about bicycle etiquette I've ever met in my entire life. They don't talk. Not a single one of them. And it's worse now because they've put in these like VO scooters and these like little like the standing scooters and then like the sitting ones. And like those might have a motor, but they're still pretty silent as well unless you're listening for them. So there's just a bunch of people in like high speed objects riding past you, not saying a single thing. And I'm just like, I'm losing my mind about it. Because one of these days, someone's going to get upset at me because I accidentally walked down the middle of the sidewalk because, I'm the only person on the sidewalk to my knowledge. And they had to go around me, or they had to stop or something, or they hit me. And it's like, dude, just speak aloud. What happened to speaking aloud? I remember all the times when I was younger riding my bike where I'd be like, on your right, on your left. And you'd get the occasional, like, chuckle nut who gets confused when you're, like, on your right and they start to move right, and then all of a sudden you almost hit them. But at least in that instance, it would have been their fault because you out loud made sure that they could acknowledge the fact that you were approaching. All these people now just running around silent, like not saying a single thing, and then a couple of them have the audacity to look back and glare at you, and it's like, I know you didn't say anything, because there's nothing in my ears. I sometimes walk with earbuds, and if I do that, I walk to the side specifically so people can pass me. And then when I don't, that's usually when I'm in the center of things, because then I'm just existing. So the fact that no one is ever calling out is just irking me, because someone is going to inevitably get hurt, right? Or they're going to get pissy and upset because people are stupid. And I want to see a return to bicycle etiquette. I know that etiquette is like, it's not like a formally trained thing, It's like the whole like wearing clothes outside. No, that's a real law. It's like the not having a kiddie pool on the inside of your house. Like there's nothing that states you can't have a kiddie pool inside of your house. It's your house. You can do as you please. But like social etiquette would dictate that if you buy a kiddie pool, you're going to put it outside because it's a messy item, and that's where messy items go. They go outside, right? And so like you're just supposed to kind of know, like learn from others of like, hey, when you're riding a bike, you say on your right, say on your left, that way you can pass and it's safe, blah, 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 blah. So the fact that there's so many of these people that will just pass and say nothing means that they're growing up around other people who are passing and saying nothing, and I think that that's crazy, right? What are you guys doing? Are you just, like, busting into people left and right? Like, for decades and decades? That's terrible. I don't know how you fix it. you can't just suddenly mandate like a formal education about bicycles, although I think some people need that. And by some people, I mean all the people that ride in the middle of a lane. Those cyclists that decide that the whole lane for a car is where they should be. Those people need the formal training. But like, if that's what it takes, I mean, let's do it. I don't know how the government would mandate that one. You get a little stamp on your driver's license that says you've gone through bicycle etiquette training. They stamp it on there like, yeah, you're approved. Go ride your bicycle. It's like, I have a four-wheeled motor vehicle that can go to 160 miles per hour. Why would I ride a bicycle? And they'd be like, you can do it though. You got the training. Or something. Some nonsense. That's how all DMV people sound, isn't it? Just like that. Like that stereotypical, I've pulled it from New York voice that I just did. But yeah, that's something that's been really it's been sitting in my head. And it's been sitting in my head because I walk, like, from my space where I exist every day to class, and then I walk back. And that's my whole day. I walk to work, and I walk back. And it's just all these people just riding these bikes and these scooters, and they just don't give a flying hoot. And I think that's messed up. I think that is dumb, and I think those people need to learn some manners about riding their bicycle. Can you tell by my tone that I'm getting tired again? There is no sleep in my eyes. It's all in my heart. I don't know what that means. I have other things I'm supposed to do today that I almost completely forgot about. No, wait, no, I did those. I had a quiz to do that I did before I recorded, specifically so I wouldn't forget to do it before the day was out. And already my brain has just kind of been like, oh, you're too tired. No thoughts, head empty. I'm also supposed to watch Shaft for a class, like original 70s Shaft. And I think that's so funny to me. It's so funny to me to have a class where I have to watch Shaft. Is it on Amazon Prime? I usually watch my things for that particular class down here in my little recording space because I don't want to disturb the rest of the house, but there are other things I have to do in other parts of the house. So I'm going to see if it's on something so I can stream it upstairs while I clean, and everyone else will just have to exist. What is brown sugar? Oh, why is that such a goofy sentence? Is that a company? I need to know. Brown sugar. No, this is all about food. Streaming service. What is brown sugar? What? Then you get to watch the biggest collection of the baddest movies. I think it just means blaxploitation films. I think it's an app specifically for that, where you can watch the largest collection of classic urban movies, uncut and commercial free. Okay, what's the rest of that sentence supposed to be? No. Oh, that was it. That was the end of the sentence. Extreme, the biggest collection of the baddest movies, uncut and commercial free. Black Samson. Oh Lord. Sheba Baby. What is this? Scream Blackula Scream. Disco Godfather. The Bingo Long Traveling All Stars and Motor Kings. What a long name. The Bad Bunch. Black Dragon's Revenge. Black Belt Jones? I think I've heard of that one. Black Heat. The Black Godfather. Yeah, it's just every single blaxploitation film you could think of in one place. And if that's not the funniest thing known to man, I don't know what is. I really don't. How long has that been a thing? That's a curious discovery we've just made. And I'm glad y'all got to be here to witness it. You're not on Amazon Prime. You're lying to me. Anywho, guess that's what we get to end off with today. Is the brown sugar streaming app. It's just a whole app for blaxploitation movies. Well, anywho, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this nonsensical nonsense. If you liked it, make sure to check the link down below. It is a Linktree link. Even if you click it, you'll find everything else. You'll find the Twitch, where that 24-hour madness went down. You'll find the other YouTube channel where video games, including past Twitch streams, will all end up. You also get to see the beauty that is the social media, where every image is made by a good friend of the channel, Kingsley. I'm just so tired, and the brown sugar streaming app is so funny to my brain. Oh my god. Anywho, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been the What a Thought podcast. I need more sleep, and I'll see all of you next week.